Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. He can run, he can catch the ball really well out of the backfield. He's incredibly versatile and a really fantastic running back. He's 29 years old. He did not play a down of football last year. If you remember, the Steelers franchise tagged him, and he simply refused to play. He said, I don't want to be in this contract. I'm here against my will, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm kind of impressed. I don't know if this is a common take or not. I thought what he did was unprecedented. I really respected it. He refused to be forced into a situation he didn't want to be part of. The Steelers were going to pay him for that 1 year, the franchise tag, a lot of money, and then just let him walk away. And Le'Veon Bell said, I know my worth. I don't want you guys using my ability against me, and I'm going to sit out. I'm going to rest my body. I'm going to get healthy and do my thing. And it's been reported now the Steelers are going to let Le'Veon Bell just walk away in free agency. And the question now is, who should sign Le'Veon Bell? Which NFL team should bring Le'Veon Bell to their roster in free agency? I'm assuming two things. One, I'm assuming that he's still the same incredible running back we saw 2 years ago. Remember, he hasn't played in an entire year. He's been supposedly training. I'm going to have the assumption he's not only going to be a really good running back to the caliber he was, I'm going to assume that he's fresh, and having a year off probably helped his body, and he got rested, and I'm sure he's in great football shape. I'm also working off of this assumption. I'm assuming he's going to sign a massive, massive contract. He wants a lot of money and a lot of guaranteed money in years. I think he's going to sign a contract somewhere in the ballpark. This is rough. Could be over, could be under, I don't know. I think he's going to sign a deal somewhere in the ballpark of $20 million a year. Which that means is whatever team signs Le'Veon Bell, they got to have a lot of cap space available to work with. Remember, Le'Veon Bell had plenty of contracts offered to him by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He said all those amounts of money were too low. He's going to sign a big contract. The question is where? Now, the number one team I think should go after Le'Veon Bell, and I think Le'Veon Bell's a good fit for this team as well. I think the Ravens are a fantastic, fantastic fit for Le'Veon Bell for a plethora, I've never used that word before on the podcast, for a plethora of reasons. Look, the Ravens run the ball a ton. In fact, they ran the ball more times than any other team in the entire NFL, 547 times last year in 2018. It's the most in the NFL. The only other team that had over 500 carries was the Seattle Seahawks. And just imagine Lamar Jackson and Le'Veon Bell in the same backfield together. It's horrifying. That's fantastic. I think it's, it is, we got to acknowledge part of the reason why the Ravens so heavily rely on the running game is because of their quarterback, Lamar Jackson's limitations, right? He's not an incredibly talented thrower of the football. But I think you got to give him time. I think he will develop. I believe in Lamar Jackson. And Le'Veon Bell, having Le'Veon Bell on their roster would tremendously help the Ravens. It would make defenses have to play them slightly differently. It would give the Ravens better matchups on the outside. That is a great, great fit for the Ravens. It really helps, not only helps the Ravens, it helps their young quarterback, Lamar Jackson, develop. You also got to realize the Ravens have the cap space to sign Lamar Jackson. They have $46 million of cap space. That's to the higher end of teams with more money to spend. And the other thing you got to think of is Le'Veon Bell could go there simply to stick it to the Steelers. I don't know that's going to happen. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to go wherever the money is the greenest, where whoever pays him the most, I think is where he's going to go. But something to consider for Le'Veon Bell, you could go to your division rival, the Baltimore Ravens, the team that made the playoffs in the AFC North last year. Join them, play the Steelers 2 times a year, and stick it to them. If Le'Veon Bell's petty at all, like I am, if I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm gonna. What's $60 million versus $55 million? If the Jets offer me $60 million and the Ravens offer me $50 million and a chance to play my former team 2 times a year, yeah, I want to do that. I want to stick it to my former team, and that's a real, I think, legitimate storyline here. Is could Le'Veon Bell go to the Baltimore Ravens, play for his division rival, as former division rival, and stick it to the Steelers 2 times a year, maybe even make the playoffs over them? That is the kind of drama I want to see in the NFL, and I think Le'Veon Bell's the kind of guy to do something like that. Now, here's the thing. If all Le'Veon Bell cares about is money, the Indianapolis Colts could pay him the most. The Indianapolis Colts have the highest amount of free salary cap space in the entire NFL. They have $107 million of free salary cap space. So the Colts could sign Le'Veon Bell. One of the reasons why they have all this money is because they've drafted so well recently. Their team is really young. They have a really young, talented defense. They have a lot of young players. They have a really good offensive line. This is the benefit. When you draft well, your contracts are young, and your contracts are cheap, and your players are young. What that means is I really think the Colts could take advantage of this situation, sign a big player like Le'Veon Bell, and take a long push towards the Super Bowl. I mean, let's think about it. If the Colts can sign a running back like Le'Veon Bell and a pass rusher, that's a team that could contend for the Super Bowl. And if I was the Colts, I would absolutely go for it. Spend the money. Go after Le'Veon Bell. Make your team better and invest in your chance to go win a Super Bowl by signing a fantastic, fantastic running back like Le'Veon Bell. I really think the Colts should go for it. Spend the money. Make it happen. Now, the third and fourth teams I think could potentially sign Le'Veon Bell are the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. They both have a ton of cap space. The Jets have the second most amount of cap space in the entire NFL. They have $102 million to spend. The Bills have the fourth most cap space, $78 million. Both of these teams have young quarterbacks. The Jets have Sam Darnold. The Bills have Josh Allen. Adding a great running back like Le'Veon Bell, again, the same way it would impact Lamar Jackson, would help Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. Defenses would have to play them differently. And this would potentially allow for better matchups along the outside with your perimeter wide receivers. If the Jets, by the way, somehow could bring in Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the same roster with Sam Darnold, that's a scary, scary mismatch for almost anyone who plays them. That's a dilemma because you got to load the box to stop the running game. But if you do that, you're giving up numbers in the pass defense, and that really benefits guys like Antonio Brown. It's also worth noting the Jets and the Bills play in the same division. So if the Jets sign Le'Veon Bell and the Bills don't go after him at all, I guess the point here is if you don't sign Le'Veon Bell, the other team in your division could, and then you'd have to play him twice a year. I think that competitive edge between the two really could impact how much money they how hard they go after Le'Veon Bell. Do you want your division rival to have him? Maybe not. I mean, we saw in last year when the Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Bears. The rumor was that part of the reason why the Bears traded for Khalil Mack, this fantastic defensive end, was so that the Packers didn't have him. Said we'd rather have him on our team than play him twice a year. That could be something that affects the way the Bills and the Jets go after Le'Veon Bell this offseason. They also have to leave. They have to be very careful. They must leave some salary cap space open in the future because at some point, the Jets are going to want to sign their young quarterback, Sam Darnold. The Bills are going to want to re-sign their quarterback, Josh Allen. It's a couple years away, but they got to keep that in the back of their mind as well. How about the Green Bay Packers? This, I think, is the biggest long shot. The fifth team I think could sign Le'Veon Bell, of course, is, again, the Packers. The reason why this is such a long shot is because the Packers have, the Packers have $34 million to spend in salary cap space this offseason. I really think this money, maybe it's better spent on a couple players on their defense. But again, you got to ask, when's the last time that the Packers had a great running back? When's the last time Aaron Rodgers really had another great star player with him on offense? You can argue maybe Jimmy Graham, but he didn't pan out. And I think the Packers signing Antonio Brown is a better move than them trading for Antonio Brown because you don't have to give up anything to get Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, you sign him, you don't have to give up draft picks, you don't have to give up defensive players. I think the Packers should go after, if they're going to go after one of those two players, it should be Le'Veon Bell because he's money, you can pay him now, and you don't have to give up anything to have him, other than, of course, salary cap space. So I think if the Packers are going to go, if they're going to go after either Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown, the Packers should go after Le'Veon Bell. Give Aaron Rodgers the running back he deserves. That's what I would do. I think in the five teams, I think could and should go after Le'Veon Bell are 1, the Ravens, 2, the Colts, the Jets, the Bills, and the Packers. Those are the 5 teams that should go after and try to sign Le'Veon Bell. My name is Zach Schomler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It is my favorite thing in the entire world. And I want to ask for your help. I want this show to grow. I want more people to watch and more people to listen to this podcast. My dream is to do this show as my full-time job. I want to own it myself. I want to do it on the internet and have complete control. I don't want to do it for CBS or ESPN. I don't want to work for a big network. I want to own it myself. And if you believe in that dream, please do me a huge favor. Help me grow by telling your friends about this podcast. Share it on Facebook, share a link on Twitter, maybe you screenshot it, put it on Instagram. I don't have a marketing strategy beyond this. This is all I have. A lot of people, one of the most common comments I get on YouTube is, you have great content. We love your stuff. You deserve more viewers. What you should do is you should buy ad spaces on Facebook or Twitter or promote yourself and buy revenue, like buy ads. I have no money. I am a broke college kid. I can't buy ad spaces. I don't have money to pay for books. And so my plan, this is my marketing plan, this is my strategy. All I plan to do is put every ounce of effort I have into making the very best podcast I can. I believe if I make a great product that people believe in, that people like, then they will share it with their friends. And so if you agree with that, if you believe in the show, if you like what I do, please do me a huge favor. Tell your friends about it. Help me grow by telling your friends about this podcast.